Hey, what's going on, guys? What's up? Just setting some few settings here real quick. All right. Hey, how's it going? Give me one quick second. I'm just trying to see if I can add somebody. All right. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about basically a big old YouTube Q&A. So any questions you guys will have, we'll talk about getting started with YouTube, how to get going, how to actually be able to make money with YouTube, all that good stuff. And I'm not seeing the person I want to invite. I have a special guest with me today, but he's going to be just a tad bit late. So that's all good. All right, let's go and get started. So YouTube, as you guys know, is probably one of the biggest, I want to say, search engines of all time. I think as of now, it's like several billion followers a month. If you're a business or just a person wanting to start a channel or some sort of stream of income / career, whatever it is you want to do, whether you want to be famous, doesn't matter. There's no reason that you should not be doing YouTube. There are so many people who've done YouTube and have turned their idea or their concept or their passion into something that generates them a lot of revenue. We've never had this opportunity in this day and age, kind of like TikTok, to where we can take something and transform it into something so powerful. So if you've been thinking or maybe been on the fence about maybe making a YouTube channel, now is the better time. In fact, one of the biggest lies that you'll probably hear right now is that, YouTube is too saturated and that there's not enough room to grow. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not true. In fact, now more than ever, because of the pandemic, there are more people watching on YouTube now more than ever before. And so now is probably the best time to hop in and start creating content. And what's great is there's people getting on the internet every single day that weren't on there before. So there's continuous streams of traffic. It is ridiculous. Another good thing to note is too that even if you feel like you have a niche that isn't really, I guess, viable, like maybe you kind of have like a more maybe off the cuff niche, like maybe you think it's not that popular. I promise, like TikTok, there is a community for everybody, and there's more than enough opportunities for you to not only grow but turn what you do into a career. Now, the first thing that probably a lot of you want to know is, well, that's good and great and all, but how do I get started? Like, what do I do? Say like I have this idea, how do I turn that into an actual flourishing channel? Well, the first thing you want to do is start getting on YouTube and just start searching around by who's already doing stuff in your niche. Say, for example, like I was doing, I always kind of revert back to dog training for some reason, but say, for example, like you were really into dog training or maybe story reading or something like that. So I would get on YouTube and I would start finding big channels already who are doing that type of content. Maybe it's vlogging, maybe it's, informational kind of like education videos. I would try and find some of the top channels. There's no like specific number. I recommend 5, but it's not like biblical in the sense of where you have to follow it. It's kind of just a loose guideline. So I'd probably try and look at like the top 3 to 5 channels, see what they're doing. What do their thumbnails look like? What are their what's their video content like? You kind of just want to start taking like mental notes. I mean, you can go a step further and start writing all this stuff down. But generally you're going to see that they're covering topics that are getting a lot of views, and you'll see a continuity between that and other channels like that in the niche as well. And you'll definitely want to keep that going. And so that's, like I said, going back to the dog training thing, I would get on YouTube and I would look at some big channels in that niche. Like, what are some big channels already covering that topic? What do their thumbnails look like? What design, patterns are that's, there's continuity between each channel. What topics are they covering? Things like that. Those are the things I would take down and be like, okay. And then I would probably hop on and get a free extension called TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is great because it's free. It allows you to search for keywords and things like that, and allows you to find little nuances and keywords that you might not have thought to target. And so that's a really good way to start too. Then I would go ahead and create your channel. Like once you have your idea, you've kind of looked at big channels, you've kind of seen like what you should kind of target. You go ahead and create your channel. You can go to canva.com and you could start creating free channel graphics for your, because you're going to want to have a brand. You don't just want to have something made in Microsoft Paint. And I feel like Canva is a very easy alternative. Instead of having to, learn Photoshop and all that, you can make really cool looking stuff. They have great templates, by the way, in Canva. I used to use Canva all the time. So I would make kind of like flesh out your channel with the branding. You're going to want to have an about me section that tells a little bit about who you are, have an email, and then your channel, like where the tags and stuff are, you're going to want to start like putting in tags of like who you are so people can find you. You'll want to like, kind of like upload, or I don't say upload, but mess around with your upload defaults, things like that, kind of just putting in details in there. So that way when your first video comes out, it will have everything in it from, from telling who you are to subscribe, all those things like that. Now we kind of come to the hardest part. Is like, okay, I know what I should be doing. I have all that, and I made my channel. It's all kind of branded out. But now what do I do? What do I make my first video on? What is it going to look like? Well, at this point, you probably should have come to the point of where, am I going to be on camera, or is it going to be faceless? Let's see if I can invite my special guest. Is it working? Hold on, guys. I'm trying to figure this out. Oh, good. So once you kind of determine that, you can kind of go either way. So if you're going to be on camera, you should definitely set up a production space or a shooting space with lighting, a camera, lights. I know that's probably kind of obvious, but these are things to figure out. And keep in mind that your first video or your first couple videos are going to be terrible, okay? I'm just throwing it out there now. Don't get discouraged. They are going to be so bad, but that's okay, because the point isn't to create bad videos. The point is to create your first few videos, so that way you can go ahead and get your production flow, and you kind of get, your stepping stone in. And like, for example, if you go to any major channel and you go back to their oldest video, let's say, for example, like any vlogger, they're always kind of like weird, right? Because they didn't have a production flow yet. They didn't have a way to streamline things. And like every creator, whether they be on camera or not, has little nuances of their personality and their channel and their video. Maybe it's the way they edit. Maybe it's what they say. Maybe it's in their intro, outro, etc. You have to take time to develop those nuances in your personality and in your content. So that's why you want to get your first few videos shot. Should I pick a niche on YouTube or a general channel? I don't know what that means. You should pick a niche for sure. Like, do something you're passionate in. Absolutely. And so like once you have that, then you can kind of start making content. If you're going faceless, you should determine, how do I want to do it? Am I going to hire a voiceover out, or am I going to have a team do it for me? Am I going to do it all myself? So those are things you're going to want to figure out. But once you kind of have that figured out, you're going to want to think of topics to cover. So the way I like to farm topics is I do two ways. I use vidIQ, and vidIQ is a way you can kind of go in and like kind of see what keywords are ranking really well in the YouTube algorithm, because it pulls directly from YouTube's API. And so with those keywords, like going back to the dog training thing, let's say Australian Shepherd, which is a dog breed, like let's say that keyword's doing really well. I would obviously probably want to create content around that keyword. So I would do several videos based on Australian Shepherd. Or let's say, Golden Retriever crate training is really popular. So I would probably do several videos based around that. And then the other portion is you actually doing it on YouTube itself. So getting on YouTube and just seeing like what the top channels are doing in that niche, like see what topics they're covering. Maybe you're seeing a lot of continuity between the topic of clicker training, for example. And you're like, wow, this topic is being covered by a lot of the top channels in this niche, and it's getting a lot of views. Maybe I should hop in on this and get a piece of the pie. So what you want to do is you kind of want to assemble about a list of 30 video topics. And once you have that list of 30, then you start making those videos. And the reason why is because those first 30 videos you create are so important to getting your content out there. And I always like to use the fisherman reference, because basically what it's like you're a net, right? You're casting a huge net, and you're throwing that in there. Oh, hey, what's up, man?
How's it going?
And you're basically you're trying to see what content works great. Out of those 30 videos, I'm just explaining to them about making the first 30 videos and how that's gonna, work. So once you have your first 30 videos, you're gonna find out that you're doing a huge array of content, and maybe 4 or 5 of those videos are gonna do exceptionally well. You're probably gonna have 4 or 5 that are gonna flop, and the rest 20 are probably gonna do okay. But once you have those 30 videos out, we're basically data mining here, because once you know that those 5 topics do really well, then you focus on those 5 topics and push harder, because those are your winners. So anyway, guys, I'd like to bring in my special guest. His name is Zach. He runs the TikTok YouTube Growth Consultant. You guys have seen him recently on my TikToks. We only have 9 viewers in here, but that's okay. It's a lot of people. It's really for a lot. It's all good. So Zach, why don't you go ahead and let's jump into something?
All right. I actually wanted to add something to your the 30
Yeah.
videos. I was thinking about my first channel that I ran, and I was and I say the same thing, like 30 to 50 videos before you really one get your voice as a
Mhm.
creator, two really understand what it is that you want to do because I tried to add like golf and working out and a bunch of different things, and some of that still is in there, but I realized one, viewers didn't love it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. There's just a lot more to it, but I had a video that popped off. Um, like 9 months into my channel, and it got like 5,000 views. Like, whoa, this is crazy. And it was an affiliate video, so I started making some money. So like, okay, let's throw some ads back to that. Just testing. I've never done ads, and I made like double that. I was like, what is going on here? And then that video has the most on my channel. It has like 80,000 views on a channel with 1,800 subscribers. I was like, okay, that topic, that's clearly something people like, and I have done. It was t-shirts for muscular men, and I have done at least a dozen videos of that, and those are always my best performers. And I never would have guessed that. I just was like, oh, t-shirts are kind of hard to find for me, so let's talk about a t-shirt. I actually like talking about like maybe shoes or something else more, but my viewers told me by watching that, hey, we like the t-shirt videos. So I've done a lot of those, and I've made a lot more money with that. So just like you said, find the videos that do well and replicate them, and your audience is telling you what they like. So I like that.
Yeah, and I think it's really discouraging for a lot of people because they'll get on YouTube and they'll post about 5 videos and they'll be like, I'm not getting any views. This is a failure. I give up. And
Mm-hmm.
I try to tell people, I'm like, look, we all know who Mr. Beast is, right? He has almost 85 million subscribers. I think he's like close behind PewDiePie. It took him, I think, 100 and something videos before he blew up. And I tell people, like, what if he quit at video 79 or video
Mm-hmm.
82? He would have never became an anybody, right? But it took him and this is over the course of like his height of, I want to say like 3 years, because he uploaded random stuff and it was not
Yeah.
consistent. So it's like, but I don't know what video it was exactly, but it took off. And some of you might remember in the early days, he used to do those things where he'd be like, saying onomatopoeia 10,000 times, just ridiculous stuff. And I think that really, yeah, just crazy stuff. And I think that really, or like watching a music video like for 12 hours straight.
Oh my
It's just
goodness.
he just did crazy stuff, and so I think that was kind of what really he found his thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so don't get discouraged if it takes you a little while to find your thing. Now, there are some creators who get on YouTube, and I've seen this a couple times, who within like a year's time, they just blow up. They go from like nobody to like 4 million subs in a year. It happens. It doesn't happen to all of us. If it happens to you, you're an anomaly, because there are some, but generally your content has to be, I don't want to say really good, because really good is very perspective on who your audience is. Um, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. There's a graphic designer, a young kid, and I love watching his speed art stuff. And oh gosh, Benny something. I can't think of his name. Anyway, he like that over 2020. He grew like crazy, and so the thing is, guys, sometimes it takes a while. That's why I also like preach about using or utilizing YouTube Shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you get bullied in school? So if so, how does that change your life? Well, that's interesting. No, I never got bullied that I could remember. Did you get bullied?
I did actually. I was bullied from the time I was
Mm.
about 5. Um, I was a
Wow.
large kid, and I also, and I share this openly, I didn't used to, but I have Asperger's. I have ADHD. I have some sleep disorders, so I've got some mental health stuff going on. But with Asperger's, you take things very literally, and I was really fat, and we lived in Indiana, and you know how the heat waves, you can see it on like the asphalt. The other kids would say, "Oh, it's melting. Run back home, and otherwise you're gonna get sucked in." And I believed them because I take things literally, and so I would sprint home. And yeah, I got bullied a lot, but I ended up at the age of 12 starting to lift weights, and I've been doing that ever since. Was one of the strongest kids in my high school because of it. So it's the bullying kind of drove
Nice.
me to change me. So, I mean, I kind of wish I hadn't gotten bullied. I didn't realize, I had Asperger's, things like that. So, but it is what it is, and I'm who I am today. So I don't know that I would change it, but yeah, good question.
Now, I would take what Zach just said here, guys, and that would be a genius thing to turn into a story on YouTube, or turn into maybe a segment of videos, because people love personal connection. They love to have that I don't want to say vlog style, but they love to know that they're connecting with whoever they're watching. So sometimes
Yeah.
if you're in that kind of niche where you can like give a chance to talk about you, this works for more channels that are based around a personality. Say for example, like if you're
Yeah.
like a Logan Paul, where you may do a bunch of different kind of content, but you're still the main personality. To have a video like that where you talk maybe about a vulnerability, an issue you
Hmm.
had in the past, I would take down that note, guys. That's really huge because the best way to get viewership and build an audience is all emotional connection. We're all emotional creatures. We're all human beings. We all crave that human connection. So when you bring that kind of thing to the table, um, it really changes things, and that goes for any sort of content. If your content invokes an emotion, or if it is emotionally engaging, you can expect a lot of followers. So then you have to kind of step back and be like, okay, well, how do I make my content emotionally engaging? Like, how do I invoke
Hmm.
emotions? Well, the top one's happiness, laughter, fear, sadness. If you can do anything, that's why like the top fail videos, like why it's funny, or I'm trying to think of some of the ones like moments where it's like it made you cry, or moments like this. All those kind of videos on YouTube, no matter how silly or ridiculous they are, they always have a lot of views because they're emotionally invoking. Uh, I mean, guys, it's a so you kind of have to figure out how does your content invoke that. So it's the same thing with like scary stories. Like what I do, fear. People love to listen and be feared. That's why that whole niche is like scary videos. That whole niche is huge on YouTube. It's the same thing. It comes down to an emotion. If your content and like educational stuff can be emotionally triggering, but if you're just like, yeah, so the biggest whale in history is the blue whale, it's not. People aren't going to be emotionally engaged. You're not hitting that trigger point,
Yeah.
even though you may be
Yeah.
giving them entertaining information. So just trying to keep that in mind with whatever you're doing. Hey, Impulse
Yeah.
Nation
I was
Media,
gonna
what's up,
say,
man?
I have a friend that I kind of coach. I mean, he's much better at YouTube than I am. He's been doing it much longer, but I make a study of the strategy and making a business out of it. But he built an awesome, like, it's a full-time business. It is amazing the income that it brings, but it's reviewing products. And he kept seeing his views go down, down, down. He's like, "Hey man, what's going on? Like, do you have any advice? Like, make a personal video. Like, I don't care what it is, some sort of personal something, because people like me reading your comments, they like you." And so he's like, "Okay." He's like, "I'm moving. I can make a video." He made a video about talking about how he moved away from the place he's lived his entire life. Like he bought the house right out of college. Like emotional connection. And that video did like 10 times what his previous video did,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
people, they follow his channel because they follow him. And I've done some guest videos on there. We made the mistake of him not introducing me, and almost all the comments were like, "Who's this guy? Why are you on here? Where's my like the guy that they're watching?" I'm like, "Oh, all right. If we do that again, make sure you introduce me. Kind of bring me in to solve a problem that you don't know as much, because if you're the face of your channel, people are there to watch you. They're not there just because the content or the information. They have a connection to you. So, telling those
Yep.
stories and
No,
those vulnerabilities is awesome."
yeah, no, it's true. Or if you're just doing the voiceover for your own channel, I had a guy reach out to me just the other day. He runs a channel called Dinomania, which I thought was really interesting. So it's like all dinosaurs based, but he's like, yeah, I've been posting nothing but shorts, and he has like 600,000 followers. He's like, what do I
My
do? I'm like,
God.
bro, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, this is stupid. I'm like, you need to start making long form content. And he's like, well,
Hmm.
should I hire it out? I'm like, listen, I'm like, and he's in all the shorts. I think he's like
Yeah.
I don't think he's a paleontologist, but I think he's just someone who's deeply like moved, by dinosaurs and stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
like, people are obviously attached to you. So I'm like, if you're gonna do that, you need to like do your voiceover. Like, you can't stray away from like you or any part of your person, because people are there for you. So
Hmm.
that's really what it is, guys. Is like it's the same with like selling products. Like, the product doesn't sell people, you sell people. And that's really
Hmm.
what it is. I mean, if you really become attached to somebody, you trust somebody, you can sell somebody anything. Man, you could sell them a dirty pair of shoes. Like, they don't care because they like you. And so really, once you have that, and it applies to a YouTube channel, like once you have that, you can really kind of come across in all different kinds of content, as long as you kind of keep that true of that, you're letting your personality come out. You're really letting that shine, because that's what people are there for at the end of the day. I know these might be kind of vague tips to some people, but these are also very crucial, because some people kind of lose sight of this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day,
Hmm.
you have to realize that, well, it's like, think about any channel you go to that has an individual who's hosting it, or maybe it's their voice, you go to because it's them. like plain and simple. If it was like, think if it was somebody else doing the voiceover or somebody else hosting the channel, you probably wouldn't really be engaged to it, you know. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of how it is. Anything else you want to add to that, Zach?
Yeah, well, and I think it's just kind of the YouTube journey. I think if
Mhm.
you're not in it, because a YouTuber will be a career at one point. It might not be as much to people today, but you can make a full-time living with 10,000 subscribers. Like you really can. But the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is, like you start 30 to 50 videos, get to just practice, like go do it, just start. But then you start moving into, learning the art, and then eventually you have to learn the science behind creating a YouTube channel. Because I've worked with a creator and he has 287,000 subscribers, but he only relies on AdSense. And at that point, his AdSense is pretty decent. Like if that was most people's salary, they'd be pretty happy with it. But
Yeah.
AdSense is 1% of what I get paid from YouTube. So if that was 1%, like it's just insane the amount of money you can make. So you need to go through this journey of learning, okay, how many different types of videos do I make? Like if I'm reviewing a product, I need to have like one or two out of every three videos be reviewing a product. Maybe the third one is I'm going to connect with my audience. The 2/3 of it is for new people I want to bring in, and I want to potentially drive value, whether I'm selling a course or I'm just reviewing a product I like or something like that. And then the 1/3 is for your subscribers, maybe 1/4, however you want to do it. But you still need to connect and pull in those people who have clicked the subscribe button, because if they've subscribed, there's a reason, and you need to pay attention to them and make content for them because they like you as a creator. And you go through this journey of learning how to make YouTube a business and learning how to make it a career. And so some of these do seem random, but they are, and you and I pulling tips from different stages of the journey to make sure everybody watching here can make money on YouTube and build a business on YouTube or
Yeah.
around
I
YouTube.
mean, what I like about Zach here, guys, is that I'm primarily an AdSense guy. Like that's where I make most of my revenue. But he makes a lot of his revenue from like you had like a t-shirt thing going. Like I don't even
Mm-hmm.
think you really use much AdSense, do you? You make it all from like affiliate and
Yeah,
other ways, don't you?
yeah, I actually looked it up to see what it was. My channel this year, and I offer services and I coach people, so I make most
Sure.
of my money that way. But my channels have made about $25,000 this year, and 550 of that is AdSense. So
And tell everybody how many subscribers you have.
I have 1,800 subscribers, 1,850, something like that.
Guys, I mean, I want you to like that's nothing. 1,800 is not, it is so obtainable. Like we gotta, I always tell people, I'm like, you gotta break away from this mentality that you need 500,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. Can
Mm-hmm.
you make a lot of money with that many subscribers? Absolutely you can, but you don't need to. You really
Yeah.
don't. Even my channels, like I they're small. To me, 30,000, 40,000, like that you're like a nobody still, in my opinion. Because so many people have hit the 100,000 milestone, and there's so many channels
Mm-hmm.
that are at 1 million now. It's like it's not like it was 10 years ago where if you hit like 50,000, like it was a huge deal. Now it's like, oh yeah, cool. So it's keep that in mind, like that you don't, and nowadays too, I don't think people really take into account they can do affiliate marketing. They could, partner with
Mm-hmm.
brand. Like there's so many things you could do besides just making money with AdSense. There's a guy, I think he did a keto thing, and I think he only had like 900 subs, but he had like filled his description full of all these like keto affiliate products. And I believe he made like keto recipe videos. I'm trying to remember what it was, but making a full-time income just from doing that, just from people clicking on his videos and like just clicking those affiliate links. And I think he was building a list as well, which he would also
Mm-hmm.
send out affiliate products to. I mean, you don't need, there's so many ways to do it. It's ridiculous. What's a recommendation length of a
Yeah.
YouTube video? So I found the Goldilocks zone is around the 10 to 12 minute mark. However, shorter videos can perform well. It all depends on your niche. Like, yeah, but I would say generally, I'd say around 10 to 12 minutes is probably going to be the sweeter spot. Like that's kind of like where a lot of the recommended videos are. And all that, but you can also put mid-roll ads in, but mid-roll ads you can do now at 8 minutes. So,
Mm-hmm.
but if you, I'd say shoot for 10 minutes if you can on average. Longer is good, shorter is good as well, but that just seems like the Goldilocks period. Shorts too. I want to talk about shorts. Shorts. Now, I know you guys probably don't know, but so YouTube is really trying to compete with TikTok because everybody sees how big TikTok is now. And so YouTube released shorts last year and they're really pushing that. So if you make a YouTube channel and you only release shorts, you can still not only make a ton of money, but you can still blow a channel up. So like that Dinomania guy I was talking about earlier, he only had shorts. That's it. And he posted maybe like once or twice a month. I mean, it was very far and few between. So you're not having to post, post videos every day. You're not having to do all this crazy stuff. So I mean, you could literally get away with shorts as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else you can add. See if there's anything you can throw it onto that, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good
I
note.
think so. I like that you said it depends on your niche because I've seen different videos perform differently. So if I'm reviewing a t-shirt, review videos, it depends on how intricate it is. A shirt is not that intricate. So like 5 to 8 minutes after that, I start to lose people. But if I'm talking about like I've reviewed custom jeans and there's a bit of a process that goes into that. So that 8 to 12 minute mark is kind of where I like it and I get more engaged viewers. I recently started another channel. It's Colorado Barbecue Boys is what it is. So we're going around reviewing barbecue places. We're talking about how to cook barbecue, different tips. And our first video was 45 minutes long. And everybody that watched that would comment, they're like, dude, you've got to shorten that down. Go to 10 minutes. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like our first video, we got 72 subscribers. We got 45 hours of watch time. And it went crazy. And I was like, it depends on your niche because the barbecue boys, I have two neighbors. They are the most hilarious guys I've ever met in my life. They will talk until the day is over and then some, and they love barbecue. And so they just sat here. They were hilarious. They're engaging. And I'm not going to cut that off because they're keeping people's attention. Our average watch time on that video is like 20 minutes. And I don't have very many videos that are 20 minutes long. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you are trying to do a tutorial, people want you to get to the point. They want to like be able to go through the process. Don't sit and talk around. Like I was trying to learn how to, and I need still to figure this out, but I have a really nice mic here and I wanted to use it for streaming. And so I'm learning how to connect it. And this guy talked for 4 minutes about the platform and about the brand and about like a bunch of stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like I'm in a rush. I just want to hook things up so I can get on this live stream. And I
It's
clicked off of
true.
his video before he even started because in a
Yeah.
tutorial, I want you to get to the point. Shorts, I actually say if you're going to post shorts, post TikToks, figure out how long your best TikToks perform. If your best TikToks performance wise are 2.5 minutes, then you're going to have to cut them down for YouTube shorts. But if your best ones are 17 seconds, try that on YouTube. If they're 45 seconds, try that on YouTube. Like I've noticed that I've tried the same video multiple lengths on TikTok to see what works. And the correlation is somewhat consistent on YouTube. The problem with YouTube is that for me, at least my channel hasn't pushed shorts as much. But that Colorado Barbecue Boys, I was actually pulling it up because we had some shorts that did, it was like 670 views in 2 days. I'm like, we have one video and we have 70 subscribers. How are we getting that? Like we have,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
3,000 or 2,400 views on a channel that's not even 2 weeks old. I'm like, and most of that is
Yep.
shorts. And so shorts
Yep.
do work and you can post them on TikTok and you can use TikTok in a lot of ways, but you can always say, hey, I did a full video of this. Go check out my YouTube if you want to see it. And if you're engaging enough, people will go check it out on your YouTube. So, yeah, like you said, depends on your niche, depends on what you're going after, but you'll test different lengths. If you feel like you're trying to add and pushing to make this longer, likely you've made it too long.
Well, and something people may ask to this say, well, that's great, guys, but how do I know what length to go after? Well, the
Mm-hmm.
tip I would say is, like I say, go see what other people are doing in your niche. Like if you're in the cooking channel and you have no idea, like let's say you want to do smoked salmon. You want to do a cooking video on smoked salmon, but you have no idea how long to make it. Should I do 5? Should I do 15? What should I do? Go see some of the top videos right now on cooking smoked salmon, for example, and see kind of what the average length is. You'll probably find out within the first 5 videos, oh, okay, I should probably target about 13 minutes. Some might be longer. It really depends. I mean, that's what I would recommend. Of course, you could experiment too. I mean, like what he was saying, don't be afraid to kind of like extend videos out because if they perform poorly, oh well, it's just a video. You could always make more and make those changes as recommended. So that would be my advice for finding out the perfect time. But you'll notice that in your niche, you'll have a lot of videos that are kind of like a certain time. So like in the cooking, you won't see like certain things that are like, well, this is this long and this is this long. It's all kind of each niche kind of has like a range, like another news. If whether are you maybe you're like music news, maybe you're actual like world news. You don't see like a lot of news videos that are 20, 30 minutes long unless it's somebody giving their commentary on like something that's going on. Most of the time it's just like, hey, here's what's happening, wham bam, thank you ma'am, done, 20 seconds. It just it really depends on your niche. And like I said, each niche will have about a range on average that you'll see of time. And you should, like I would say, repeat what's already being done. And if you just do the same thing, you'll be that much closer to having the success. Zach, anything you want to add on that?
No, I don't think so. I was just looking at the comments here. We've got she's actually my cousin Anna just asked a question. No, it's Captain Chunk. Her channel, she's got over 100,000 followers here on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
And she makes custom like Harry Potter suits and dresses and all sorts of cool stuff that I would never be able to make. So we're trying to get her on YouTube. But I think what I've learned and this is hard because you have so many different platforms and you're trying to expand and build kind of an empire, so to speak, on this. But you need to capitalize on what's doing really well. So if on TikTok or on YouTube, you have these videos that are just killing it, take those ideas and expand on them. So for example, on TikTok, if I make a short TikTok video, and I tried to take my longer videos and cut them for TikTok. Don't do that. Make TikToks and then expand on YouTube and make a bigger video. And it's really easy for you to on TikTok say, hey, I've made a full video. If you want to see how I do all of this, if you want to learn how to do what I'm doing, go check out my YouTube page. And so you've taken something they're interested in and you're pushing them over to somewhere else. And so on YouTube, here's how the journey goes in my mind. When you're first starting, first 1,000, 10,000 subscribers, you need to be a niche within a niche, micro niche. So one of my channels is Style for Muscular Men. If you go search Muscle Fit T-shirt on YouTube with 1,800 subscribers, the top 10 or 15 results will have 5 of my videos because I have cornered that key term. I've gone super, super narrow. So even though there's only a couple thousand searches a month for that term, I pop up all the time. Now, if you search men's T-shirt, I probably don't pop up at all. There's millions of times that's searched, but I'm result number 5,000, so it doesn't matter. So you can't really branch out until your channel's bigger. And YouTube's like, oh, this is one of our big creators. Like they're making more general content, but we're going to push it anyway because we're going to keep them happy. And so you kind of have to play to YouTube's rules. If you're on TikTok, their algorithm's just amazing. It's built for virality, and anybody can build an audience here. It's amazing. YouTube's a little more finicky, and there's a lot more science to the art. Whereas on TikTok, it's just, hey, if you can keep people's attention, we'll show your video, which would be great. But YouTube's been around a while and likes to pander to those who bring in more revenue, which understandably because they make a lot of money, but hopefully they'll kind of adopt some of TikTok's virality and you don't have to push out as much. You can just make the things that you like. So you expand really by capitalizing on what your viewers are there for and just giving them more of it.
Now, it's Captain Chunk asked a really good question here. He says, how do you expand your audience without losing your current subscribers?
Anna. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Sorry.
Oh, okay. And I thought, man, like that is such a good question. I guess my opinion would be I'd say do half and half. That first half is giving your audience what they want. The second half is trying new things, but also not straying too far from what they like. So going back to the cooking thing, like let's say you have a big seafood channel, right? That's all you cook is seafood. Maybe kind of start venturing into the realm of maybe exotic seafoods, right? And maybe kind of see how far you could stretch it, but also not that might be kind of a weird example, but it's just off the top of my head. Try not to stray too far from home. I'm terrible coming with examples on the spot, but I hope you guys can understand the generality of that, kind of just because again, like you don't want to just stop doing what brought your audience and like just start doing other stuff. Because some creators do that and people are like, what happened? Like I subscribed to you for X reason. Now like, what are you doing? So you always want to make sure that that core is being satisfied. But at the same time, feel free to experiment every other video, or every couple of videos and kind of like bring something new because you never know. You may just land on an idea that also gels really well with your current audience. And then you can kind of just keep expanding and keep expanding. But you don't want to expand so much that now, you're doing all these different things. And I mean, I would say yes, and as long as like that all fits under your same umbrella. But you'll notice that as you build your core audience, and when I say core audience, I'm thinking like your first 100,000 subs, right? That is kind of your core. That's kind of like what gets you known, because once you hit 100,000, you start to really rapidly move up, and that core is following you for a reason. Maybe they like your playthroughs, maybe they like the way you cook, maybe they like the way you articulate and speak, and they like your personality, your quirky editing. So that first 100,000 is going to be really privy to anything, or really picky to anything you put out afterwards if you start to really change up your content. Now, you can change up your content but you just have to know that you may have lower engagement. I know people have tried to talk about switching niches, like once they've already been really established. I'm like, once you've put in all the work to get to that far, it's almost not even worth it. Like, just start a new channel to try and like, because now you're trying to like switch gears to such an extreme, it's not really going to work as well. So these are all things to think about, like as you're on your journey, is to the core is basically to develop who you are. Like, it's like I told you before, like, you should have, when I go to your YouTube or your TikTok, within the first few seconds, I should know who you are, what you're about, and what do you do content on. I mean, that's good and great, but how do you actually carry that? How do you execute that? Well, by like I just said, like, you shouldn't put out a video of like, hey, here's me playing basketball, here's me looking at my shoes, here's my dog. Like, let's say you do a video on your mechanic, right? And you like to work on Chevrolets, right? So your videos should tell me automatically just from scrolling, oh, you obviously like to do this kind of content. Your name should represent that. Your branding should represent that. So within the first few seconds, it's like Coca-Cola, right? You see Coca-Cola, automatically, boom, brand recognition. Pepsi-Cola, same thing too, brand recognition. Like, anything has an automatic, oh, like, for, if I were to go to Nike's channel right now on YouTube, which I've never been, within 5 seconds of just seeing an overview of their channel, their branding, I would like, oh, I know what you are. I know what you're about now. I know, do I want to watch or subscribe to your content? And a lot of people don't have that down. And that is so important, because again, it tells people, maybe I don't want to subscribe to you, maybe I do. And like, because at least I know what you're about. And once you kind of know what you're about, then it's just, you will build over time. But if you don't have that yet, then you're going to have followers kind of in and out. You'll have people who maybe watch some of your videos, but not all of your videos, because the ultimate goal, guys, is you want super fans. Super fans are the ones who love you. They adore you. They are connected to you. They want to watch all your content. They literally love anything you put out because it's you. And that is what you're aiming for. And you get that by, like what Zach is saying, is I don't want to say micro niche exactly, but focus on a core subject or topic that you do really well. And maybe you kind of branch a little bit, but you're still under this umbrella that you focus on X amount of topics under that umbrella that you cover, or at least are perceived as doing very well. And that's really how you kind of grow. And that's, if you look at it, that's the exact same for any channel that is blown up to 10, 20 million, like Mr. Beast, for example. What does he do? He does crazy stuff that like nobody else does, buried alive for 4 days at a time, or like counting this, like that's kind of extreme stuff, but that's his thing. That you have to find your thing. Mr. Ball, I'm sure you guys have heard Mr. Ball, and he tells horror. Like he story tells horror stories. That's his thing. He doesn't deviate from that. Good Mythical Morning, they're kind of like a talk show thing. They do funny stuff. That's their thing. So you have to find your thing, and they don't deviate from those things. They just do it over and over, and they may do new topics, but they still maintain that style. So without turning this into a novella, that's the core of basically what it is to really grow. I mean, I think a lot of people overlook this stuff, and they think they need all these kinds of videos and they need to have a viral hit. And you got to think of it more like a business. Businesses are the same way. They focus on one thing. They focus on a product. They focus on one, solving a problem, and they grow. Nike didn't get big from trying to sell people like computers and stuff. Like they focus on sportswear. I believe that's what they do, or that's what they did, and they kind of just gotten bigger. Once you have an actual like fan base, you can kind of expand and do more things, like to a TikTok even, but you kind of want to stay there for your main audience,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's something else more I can add to that. That's a pretty long-winded answer but to kind of put in conclusion, just find what it is that you want to do and really just, focus on that. And you'll find it's the same for just about anything, pretty much.
Yeah. I was going to say, I like to recommend 3 shows or 3 pillars of content. And so if if you want to expand, say you're only doing one piece of content, find 2 others that support it. So Anna, for example, she makes these amazing custom suits. So one of her pillars could be sewing tips, or how to make, or like some tips on how she makes these amazing, suits, dresses, things like that. The other could be, I don't know, how she sources them, how she gets her ideas, how she, something related, but you have these 3 different shows. Like if you turn on a TV channel and there's your 3 favorite shows on that channel, it's kind of the similar idea. Like you want to go there, and it's not so different that you're put off because you have no idea what's going on, but it's also cohesive. I had a family member start a YouTube channel, and it was random. You never knew what you were going to get on there, and they gave up pretty quickly because they didn't grow, because you never knew what you're going to see on the channel. But if I know, like my muscular style channel, you're going to get reviews on clothing that fits well. You're going to get style tips, which is related but different. And then you're also getting, it's for muscular men. So you're getting like pre-workout reviews, little workout tips. I don't do like full-fledged workouts. I don't do personal training, but I give you like, hey, I've been lifting weights for 2 decades. Here's some tips. Here's something that I learned that's going to help you as a muscular man look better, feel better, be healthy. And these 3, they go together, but they're 3 very distinct pillars of content. And so I have 3 shows, 3 pillars, and you're not going to stray too far if you're trying to make them relate and kind of connect at the top. So that's what I like to recommend.
No, that's genius. I feel like too, it's important to add that while doing, having the pillars and stuff, as long as you are still communicating with the, I guess I wanted to say too, that because people, they feel like they have to try and, reach a general audience. They have to try and talk to everybody because otherwise it won't grow.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be the farthest thing from the truth. Like I was just going to say, like, you want to speak, you have a core audience that you need to speak to. If you try to do everything, you're going to be so watered down. Nobody's going to know what you're really about. People are going to be confused. You're not going to get a following. And I think the reason why people try to do this is because they think that if they box themselves in, no one's going to follow them. But that's the exact opposite, because if you offer, at the end of the day, you're offering essentially a solution to a problem. When you really want to boil things all the way down, that's really what it is. And so you're talking about like the fitness thing. If I wanted to look more into like weightlifting and stuff like that, and you had videos that are like on you doing like Halo playthroughs and stuff, I'd be like, what is this? I'm like, you're not really solving anything. But if you focus on that, I'm like, oh, wow, you are actually intelligible. You have all these great tips. You've made a follower out of me. So I think that's also a really good key takeaway too. And it kind of relates to what Zach and I have been talking about for the past, 20 minutes. It all just kind of goes back to that. Is it's not trying to focus on everything around you and just find your core audience. And you don't have to be like, oh, what, they're 19 years old and they're a male and they've been out of college. You don't have to get that nitty gritty, but you kind of need to know, like, okay, who am I talking to? Like when even brands and companies do YouTube channels, they're advertising their products. They do get that specific with a demographic, but if you're just doing stuff that's like, if you're just doing stuff that's like, you want to help people like make money, or you want to help people like, grow in real estate, you're speaking to a specific audience. You're not just talking to anybody and everybody. And that's okay if you're only getting X amount of subs and you only have this much of an audience, because that's all that matters, because they're the ones who are going to listen to you and want to like buy your stuff and pay attention and become super fans. So that takeaway from this is just focus on your small super fans and not making, a viewer out of everybody, because viewers aren't going to watch all your stuff. They're just there, they're kind of like ghosts in a sense.
And that's the 1,000 true fans principle. And Tim Ferriss does this really well. He's like, when I make content, it's like, I want my 1,000 true fans to get as much value as possible. He's like, I know I'm going to piss some people off. I know I'm going to make some people happy. And I know I'm going to have a lot of people that are meh. And if I don't have those 3 groups, I'm doing something wrong. He's like, it needs to be polarizing enough that my 1,000 true fans are just cheering, going crazy. This is amazing. And I have a equally large group of people that are mad at me because of the things I'm saying. It's like, if you're that polarizing, you are going to be able to build, an incredible audience. He has millions and millions of followers between his books, his social media, like his podcast, all the different things. And he's like, I just focus on the 1,000 people that I'm really talking to. He's like, the millions can come and go. That's a thing. But like, those 1,000 are never going to leave. And if I put out a product or put out something, I have enough income from 1,000 people to support me, because they will literally buy or do anything I ask because they love me that much.
Yeah, that's true, guys. And that's what your core should be focused on, is getting those 1,000 super fans. You are so right. And the amount of subs you have, the amount of views your channel gets, that doesn't directly correlate with your super fans. And that's the thing too. So that's also something to keep in note of. But it's interesting that you're talking about controversy, because one of the things that I've also talked about too, especially with TikTok, or pertaining to TikTok specifically, is people want to talk about viral content. Unfortunately, and Facebook is the same way, controversy, whatever it is, always gets a lot of, there's a specific word I'm looking for, not views and comments, but like I said, attention would work. And the reason why is because it comes down to the one thing we talked about. It invokes emotion. It makes you angry. It makes you, there's something that happens, right? And that's just why when people say, well, how come all Facebook does is just push controversial stuff? It's because it gets a lot of attention, right? It gets a lot of views. People hop in the comments. They get in arguments. They fight, right? And so Facebook is an AI. It just sees that, oh, Oh, I lost connection there for a second. Am I still there? Oh, there we go. Okay. So all Facebook sees as an AI is, hey, we put out this article and it's getting a lot of, a lot of comments, a lot of shares, a lot of, so it's like, okay, well, this type of content obviously works. So then it puts out more content, abortion, the vaccine, COVID-19, boom. And all these articles blow up. So it's like, okay, well, obviously controversy works. And so people, even on TikTok, you're like, what do you think about Trump? What do you think about Biden, COVID-19, all this stuff, boom, it's the same thing. So I'm not saying go out there and talk about controversy, but I'm saying controversy can be used in the right context to blow up your channel, because people, what do? They get in the comments and they argue. And guess what? The whole time they're arguing, your channel or your video is just playing on loop over and over. So TikTok, it's like, oh, this video is getting really high watch time because people are just scrolling in the comments, they're arguing, they're laughing at each other, whatever they're doing. And so that can work in your favor. So, and all you got to say is something controversial, or you can even ask a question like, what's the most controversial opinion you have? And I will guarantee you will get so much reaction to that, because again, guys, it invokes an emotional response. So really, if you can find a way to create that response with all your content in some way, in some form of an emotion, you can have a much higher chance of going viral, or just kind of getting a lot of viewership or a lot of people engaged with you. I mean, that can kind of go both ways. Some people just focus on too much controversy, and then, kind of, I wouldn't recommend doing that all the time, because then it kind of backfire. Then you'll get people who hate you because maybe you stand for this opinion and not this opinion. So you kind of got to be careful with that, but you can still use it to your advantage and use it for things to, forward your TikTok. I don't know as much as YouTube. I haven't tried controversy with YouTube, but I know with TikTok, I've seen it work very well. In fact, I've had posts on some of my other TikTok where it wasn't meant to be controversial, but I know the comments started turning into an argument over something. And I'm like, yeah, keep arguing, because again, it just increases your watch time, which just blows up your. So it's a really kind of cool little hack. But yeah, do you have any like little tricks like that you use for any of your stuff? Or
I'm trying to think. My channels really are reviewing things, different things like that. I'm not doing like current events or anything controversial, but what I have noticed is that, and what I've been creating TikToks and I'm gonna start doing some YouTube videos on, is getting your hook down. Like I'm creating it's the perfect YouTube video blueprint, like walking someone through the perfect YouTube video, and it's concepts. It's not I'm writing a video for you, but the most important thing is that hook at the beginning, and you have to hook people multiple times, like in that first 10 seconds. And if you're on TikTok, really 3 seconds, you have to have a good hook, keep their attention. You have to do it again in the next 10 seconds on TikTok, or about 30 seconds on YouTube. And then you need to do it an additional time that next minute. And those hooks, it's hard, because it's not, the rest of your video can kind of be ad lib. And I try to do the entire video ad lib, but I'm noticing that if I have a really, really solid hook that I've kind of crafted at the beginning, and then I make sure to mention it again or something that hooks them again, watch time's so much better. In fact, my last video had double the watch time of my normal video. So it's like, oh, this is awesome. Like it's working, but your hook has to be so good at the beginning that they have to watch around. Like if some of those, I don't know, the create videos where they show you the end result and you're like, oh, how did they do that? Like, and you have to watch until they're done. You've got to create that, like, oh, like I'm trying to remember the one that I did. Oh, I'm about to do a TikTok, and it's the hook is, did you know there's only one thing that you need to do to have a successful YouTube business? And it's like, wait, there's only one thing? That's it? Just one? And it was a book that I listened to. It's called The One Thing, but essentially every key area of your life, you need to sit down and ask yourself, there's what one thing, if I did perfectly well, would make everything else either easier or irrelevant. I'm like, oh, that's really good. And I can't tell you what the one thing on YouTube is. I can tell you a lot of things, but for you, where you're at in your journey, there's one thing you need to focus on. And it's not about balance. It's about imbalance. It's about focusing on that 20 or 10% that's going to give you all the result that you need, and kind of being okay dropping some of the other stuff because it's not doing as well. And I have a really hard time with this, but that hook at the beginning is like, wait, just one thing? What's the one thing?
Gosh, like that, guys, if there's like that he just dropped is gold. Out of all these, 45 minutes we went, that, I'm telling you guys, that is really good advice. So like basically what he's saying, don't try to stretch yourself thin by doing this channel and that channel and this over here, and like he said, focus on it, because then you'll never achieve it. So to add to what you're saying, when I was younger, before I even did YouTube, I was trying to do everything. I was trying to juggle all these different things because I saw these different ways you could make money. So I tried to do SEO and blogging and this and do this website and Amazon FBI, or not FBI, but anything I could, right? And I had the shiny objects and I was just jumping from this to that, and I never got anywhere. So it was like years. Like I never had anything to show for it. So finally, I started doing YouTube, but I was working outside the house at this time, and so like finances weren't a big deal because I already had a job, and so but over time, because I just stuck with that one thing, it grew into a business. And so then I got laid off, and I've been doing YouTube full time since. But it basically reinforces that is because I stuck with that. And what's funny is you always mention the 9 months thing. It took me exactly 9 months to start the channel to go into full time. Exactly 9 months. So it's hilarious you bring that up. But yeah, like had I not done it or gave up on it, who knows what I'd be doing, you know?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I think it's hard for a lot of people to really see it through and stick to one thing and be willing to cut out other projects or prospects that they're wanting to do to just focus on that one and really build it up and put into it to really get it to where it is. And you got to think too, you're like, okay, is there things that I could later on pay money to build up, you know, with a team that I don't, because your time is so important. And people think money's time. Money's not time. Money is money and time is time. You can't ever get your time back, ever. Money, you're always, for the rest of your life, you're going to gain it, you're going to lose it. That's just how money is. So when people who are like, well, I'm going to penny pinch, you're going to gain, it's going to get, like the money you have is going to get spent no matter what you do. It's going to not be spent on that, but it'll get spent and you'll gain more. You will never get back time. It is the most valuable asset you have. We're only getting older. You know, we're only getting older. So if there's anything you can do right now to establish yourself so that way you can have that time, aka financial freedom in the future, focus on that now. So instead of like, you know, trying to create 5-10 channels, which I'm guilty of, I'm sure Zach is too, focus on the one thing that you can build up and put your all into it. And then once your tree has grown and blossomed, now you have income coming in. Now you could start paying for other channels. You could start like with Zach does, you could hire VAs, you can hire people to do stuff for you that you're not having to try and dictate all this stuff, spend all your time and still get nowhere. And I know that might seem common sense to some people, but I've had to learn that the hard way. I've spent a lot of time. I'm sure Zach has paid his dues on that too. It's a rough lesson. And I think we all kind of get confused because we see the dollar signs and we're like, oh man, if only I could do it instead of just focusing on the one thing. So yeah.
Absolutely. And right now I'm contracted by an agency to work on a couple of Fortune 500 YouTube channels. And the only reason I have that is I focused on YouTube for 2 years, just studying it and examining this art and science and just really getting to know it. And I applied for a couple of jobs because we were moving and I was like, oh, you know, it'd probably be nice to have some extra income. Let's, you know, get a part-time job or something. Didn't get the job. A few months later, they reached out and like, hey, we have a new position. We don't have anyone that knows how to do this. Is this what you do? And I'm like, that is exactly what I do, actually. And they're like, oh, please, can we, you know, work on this? Can we hire you? Can we try it out? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I hired, and because of that contract, I had to hire 2 extra people. Like I have a video editing team and they specialize in YouTube. So I refer people to them always because they are really, really good at what they do. But the VAs are now doing like SEO and they're writing descriptions and they're, you know, finding links for the video. They're doing all of the, call it monkey work. It's, you know, maybe not the best term for it, but it's things that my brain is just like, I can't handle this repetitive thing. My brain is this ADHD, but I've got to be working on something new, something engaging. Otherwise I just get bored. And so I'm like, well, if I can pay you way less than what my time is valued at to do these things, and hiring VAs is a topic maybe we'll have to cover sometime because there's some really good VAs for really cheap. But like I've bought back like 30 hours a week, and it's you know, maybe 10 to 20% of what the project is, and I'm working 1/4 the time, and I can do the other things I actually like. So that's figure out your one thing and what you're good at, and hire out the rest.
Well, the other thing I was gonna say too is so like once you have your one, like once it's blossomed, you can do other things in your time. So like for me, I have my 3 main channel, or actually my 3 main horror channels. Basically, what it is I put content on the one, and then I make compilations out of that content and then release it on the other 2. So I always refer to it as my trio because that is my bread and butter of income. And so like that takes me about 3 hours a day ish. But once that's done, then I have the rest of the day where I can like, oh, I could work on TikToks, I could work on this channel, I can make this video and edit it. And so I kind of cycle my content around that during the day. But if I were just to stop all the other stuff, I'd be done within that 3-4 hour time. So what I'm referring to is once you kind of get to a point to where you can have that privilege of like, you know, where you hone your business down to where you're making money from it, and you only have it down to this much time, then you could start to, you know, branch out and work on other things. And like hiring a VA is We should definitely start doing that because that's I have a team that works for me, but I don't have like VAs that do stuff. So I'm like, that might be a good thing to do. But like you think any company, it's not run by one guy. You have a head,
Mhm.
but under that head you have many. I know this might somewhere be of many necks that go to many bodies that go to many arms and many hands. And that's really the only way a company can work because there's a lot of things that has to be done. And so, I mean, you think like even some of these big corporations, they have thousands of people, right? And there's a reason everybody has a place to function as one large machine. You have to have multiple mechanisms, multiple gears. It's just how it works. So when you get to that point, you got to start branching out. It's the only way you're going to expand, really, is to start branching out and hiring and kind of building a team. I mean, I've heard of, I think, gosh, who does the channel? Oh gosh, I can't think off the top of my head. They're a big kind of like 7 things you probably never knew about the world. They're like one of those educational ones. They're run by two guys in Russia. The name's eluding me, but they literally have people that work like they have managers under them. Those managers run teams of people. Those teams run other teams. It's like a company. It is a company based
Mm.
off channels that are it's something mine. Gosh, what is the name of that channel? But they have channels in multiple different languages. And so you think they're probably a multi-million dollar company. And the head is just
Yeah.
run by these two Russian guys. And it's like, but they started off just, making the content. And then as they expanded, they start hiring and hiring more and more, and you just get bigger.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I think
it's
it's the difference between being a solopreneur who makes,
mhm.
I don't know, a couple thousand, couple $100,000 a year, maybe up to $1 million if you're really doing things well, or you can, as an entrepreneur who hires people, make millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. I don't know of a single solopreneur who has made hundreds of millions of dollars. Like I just, if there is one, like somebody let me know, but I don't know of one. Now, entrepreneurs, they make tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars all day long because they've built, like you said, a machine, a large group of people that are working when you're sleeping or when you're not. So it's, you just can't, I don't know, if you want to be a solopreneur, like make that decision, but understand you're creating a lifestyle business. Your goal in that should be to work minimally and to have a comfortable income. Nothing crazy, nothing extravagant. You're not, going on vacations every quarter to exotic
Right.
places. Like you're comfortable. And that's a great goal. And that's a goal that everyone should start at. But if you want more than that, if you want to be able to impact other people's lives, and a couple of both of my VAs actually are one's in South Africa, one's in, I think, Nigeria, and I pay them what I consider to be not very much money. In their money, it's like they are getting really well paid. And for me, I'm happy because I'm paying them what I consider to be inexpensive, and they're happy because they're getting paid what they consider to be well. And so, we've branched this out, and I can push off things, and I can make more money working less hours. Like I said, I work a fourth as much as I used to because I've hired these people. So I'm happy, and I can continue if I want to scale and build and go after these hairy audacious goals, or I can be okay and say, hey, I'm comfortable here. Like I like the amount that I work. I like the amount of income, and let's just maintain here. Like that's fine. But you've got to make that decision. What are you trying to go after? But the
Do
journey
you
to entrepreneur often starts with solopreneur. So
do you pay them hourly or do you pay them like a salary?
yeah, I pay them hourly. I give them tasks, and each one has a different base rate for hour based on what they do. One's a copywriter, and then one's just a general VA. So I just give them tasks, they complete them, and then I pay them by hour. So I have to have 5 hour minimum per week is all, and it's through an agency. So it's I
Nice,
take care of everything. I just send the money. So
nice. Now, a quick tip for people out there. So if you're doing anything writing at all, we have come to a point with AI that you can. I think I was telling you about this, Zach, with Jarvis. How
yeah, yeah,
incredible
yeah.
Jarvis is with copywriting. Didn't you already use Jarvis?
I looked it up because I was interested in fact, we had a question earlier about the like ambiance videos. I was trying to create some sort of automated something video, and it's not my one thing, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. But no, I haven't used Jarvis. It looked like it was really good. I know you
Yeah,
use some software that you like, but I might need to use some of that for some like copywriting and test it out because I mean I have a copywriter. She's amazing, but she does cost a lot more than that software. So if I can kind of supplement and have her maybe edit some of that and make it cohesive, that
yeah.
might be a good way to go.
Well, what I like about it is, okay, so you can do the freeform document writer where you could like input stuff and tell JavaScript what to write. Like I can use it to write fictional stories for what I do, which is really cool. But at the same point, you can also, they have different frameworks. So you could write like a Google headline, you could write a YouTube script, all this stuff. But you can also do, they have the Ada framework. I don't know how familiar you are with like the marketing frameworks. They have the Ada, they have a couple of them, and you input the company, the product you're trying to sell, the problem that the person has, and the solution, and it comes, and it's like you read some of the stuff and you're like, wow, like that's, you can sell anything. And it's,
Yeah,
I could, and I see on the like the
I might have to
Facebook
try
group, a
this.
lot of people have gotten rid of their copywriters. It's just like, and I did a few tests. I think I did one called, I was like the Spark vacuum. It's supposed to be like the most powerful sucking hand vacuum, just to kind of, and it came up with some really good copy where I'm like, I could see this on a page. But Jarvis had studied like 10% of the entire internet at the time. I think it was like 2019 October. So it's not, doesn't know anything about COVID yet, but
Hmm.
the stuff it does know is very impressive. Or if you're like, like Jarvis, write a Reddit thread about, XYZ, it'll be like, oh, okay. And you could choose different tones of voice. I could have it write in the voice of Optimus Prime, Ryan Reynolds, Nicholas Cage, like anybody I want. It's really crazy. And they'll use that same kind of tone and verbiage. It's
Yeah.
like, man, this is a game changer. And so some people do it for free. I think the one I pay for is called Boss Mode. You get all these different features and bells and whistles. If you guys are out there and you use writing add-on in any form of your stuff, it's worth checking out. I think you can do a trial of it, but go check it out if you guys can. It's a crazy tool, and it just goes to show you that AI in the next couple of years might overtake writers. I mean, once GPT-4 comes out, right now GPT-3 is out. It's like Elon Musk's neural network that they designed with OpenAI is pretty impressive, but there's still some things where it'll go off on a tangent where I'm like there's continuity in like what it writes, but there's still some things where I'm like, what? But once GPT-4 comes out, it's said to have like the same amount of like the database is just as big as how many transmitters we have in our brain. I think it's like 100 trillion. I think at that point, it'll understand context in the human language so well. We could probably just tell it to write an article about this, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
the one drawback
Yeah.
I will say is that factually it'll say some things that are not right. So Jarvis is really good
Mm-hmm.
creatively. It'll write things really good, but it'll like if you're like, tell me about, Yosemite National Park. It may say some things where I'm like, well, that's not factual at all. Like there's one time it tried to tell me that Bend, Oregon, to Seattle was like 30 minutes. I'm like, that's not
Yeah.
factual. But the what it wrote about was really good. So it's like you kind of gotta
Yeah.
fact check it sometimes. Or like it'll say George Washington grew up in South Texas, things like that. It's like, what? But yeah,
Hmm.
but if you fact check that stuff, it still ends up being really good writing. So it's not
Yeah.
it's not meant to replace your writer. It's meant to cut down your time and really augment your capabilities. So anyway, if
Yeah.
you guys are out there, definitely go check it out and give it a try.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and really, the whole point of all of these is leverage. Like buying back time, finding tools that create, more than the effort that you're putting into them. Doesn't matter what it is, like hiring a video editor, that by itself, if I could afford to have every single video edited, it would cut like 30 hours off my week. And I only have those
Mhm.
hours because I've already hired two VAs. So like
Yeah.
it's the more you hire, like if I was able to hire them for everything as well as my VAs for all the other things, I would literally work like 5 or 10 hours a week is all. Don't have the luxury of paying for every video to be edited, but like I I wouldn't work much at all. And the goal is to get there, but then what you can
Then you
do
just
is
keep
you
it
can
clean.
you keep it when you study, you invest in yourself, you learn new skills, you start an academy to teach people. There's so many things you can do, and then it just gets bigger and bigger. And you use the word build your empire when we're doing some TikToks that like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you build
Yeah.
your empire.
Channel after channel. Another tool that I
Yeah.
think you benefit from, Zach, and so is everybody else. Do you guys know? Have you guys ever heard of Vidnami?
Vietnamese vid like
Yeah. So
mm,
they sold back in July to GoDaddy. GoDaddy bought them out for like something $1 million. So they folded. But a company that emerged from them was another company called Pictory. Pictory, like it's like victory, but with a P. So Pictory.ai. And for those of you, I see Mr. Online Reviewer, he knows what I'm talking about. But basically what they are, yeah, a lot. Yeah, yeah, a lot. So they kind of had a really unprofessional way that they folded. So they basically sold their company to GoDaddy. And, they kind of got a lot of flack for the way they did it. I'm right there with people. I disagree with how they did it. It was very, very in poor taste, but it is what it is at this point. But anyway, what they did was you could input a script and their AI would automatically generate a video for you based on like what you put in. So say, for example, you were talking about, like some of the most holistic approaches to like dieting. Yeah, unethical is a good way to put it. So like, let's say you're talking about like the top 10 things about keto. It would automatically pull from story blocks all this really good stock footage plus text on the screen.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Yeah.
so it would, so instead of having to like write out a script, voice the script over, pull all this stock footage myself in a video editor, it would just come up with it within like, I think maybe 30 seconds. And then you can go to each slide, change the text, change the footage, but it usually was pretty spot on. And so what I would do is I would just paste in my script, let it create the video, and I would put in my voice, and then it would automatically sync up your voice to the text on the slides, and you could add in background music. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man, it's incredible. It was such a lifesaver. But when they folded, it's like there went that, but then Pictory came out. And Pictory is pretty much doing exactly what they do. They still have a couple things they need to kind of fix, but they're pretty much like 95% there. And so now I pay for Pictory. I use them full time. So like one of my video things I do on my other TikTok, it's like called like disturbing facts that'll ruin your life. And it's just kind of a list of like facts that like may bother you, things about like death or things like this. But all I gotta do is paste in a script and it automatically chooses stock footage to put for each slide. And it's like that's already done for me. So like that's pretty cool. And I mean, you could use it. I see people use it for full length videos, like 10, 20 minutes long. It has been such a time saver. And it you don't have to have a Storyblocks license or any sort of stock. It does it automatically. And it's just a really great tool. It's just, so if you guys are like wanting to make videos and want to streamline your process, that's right. Use Jarvis to write your scripts, help you write your scripts. Use Pictory to make the videos. There you go. I mean, then use Canva to make the thumbnails, because Canva's got a lot of great templates. You don't need to be a Photoshop whiz. I mean, it's never been easier to create a booming YouTube. And you don't even need to go that far. In fact, when I was working on shooting my course, the dog grooming niche is so stupidly large. There's a girl that all she does is she just kind of like takes little highlights of her like dog, and she shoots it with her phone from a POV perspective with her phone. There's like no editing. I mean, it's pretty poor editing. There's no thumbnails. The description's hardly there. And the girl has like 800,000 followers. The videos have millions of views. I'm like, she is making bank from like what? So it really goes to show you that people and I'm guilty of this. We all overthink production. We gotta have these lights and this camera. While that can help, it doesn't, as you see, it doesn't like matter for a lot of niches. Like some niches, they don't care. For some it does, but it's like, I thought to myself, I'm like, are you kidding me? Here I am busting my butt with all this stuff. And I'm like, and this girl's like killing it. And then I'm like, man, maybe production isn't as big of a deal as people really think it is. I'm like, wow. I'm drinking from my boss mode mug. Heck yeah, you got it. Okay, he says perfect for you. Cash go. Yeah. So what Mr. Online Reviewer is saying, all these things are true. So Jarvis and Pictory, if you guys use those, I mean, they're worth checking out. No, it's not. Yeah, exact. Production is not super big. It can definitely help though. There's some people that are turned off by production, but nowadays, I mean, you think about TikTok, like think of how many viral TikToks are just with a phone. As long as it's not like a pixelated, like Nokia 2003 phone, I don't know if it really matters as much anymore,
And on it, like if you can get good audio, you're set. Like YouTube is a little bit different. And I don't know, my advice is always when you're first getting started, shoot those 30 to 50 videos and pick one thing and make it 1% better. And stick with that for the next like 10 videos. So if you're looking at it, you're like, it looks kind of funny, play with your lighting each video. Try to get better lighting.
Uh-oh, your audio went out. Can't hear you, buddy. Your audio went zilch. Oh, no.
Well,
can you hear me?
Having me on.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep, but I've got to run. We went a little over my time limit, so thanks for having me on. We will do this again. I don't know how often we want to do it, but I'll see you next time.
Sounds good, Zach. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Okay. Yep.
Make sure you guys go follow him, guys. Yep. Have a good one, buddy.
All right, bye.
How do I see ya? Yeah, guys. So I hope those tips. He dropped some really good bits of info. Oh, there we go. connection back. So he dropped some really good bits of information. Zach is a pretty good guy. He actually reached out to me from a couple TikToks. We've made a couple TikToks together. So if you guys want to go follow him, I think it's YouTube Growth Consultant. He's got a lot of cool stuff. What's cool about Zach is, unlike me, his journey on YouTube is so different. So even though I run 3 channels and I have like a decent amount of subs, he has like barely any, and he's making a lot of money just from stuff that's not AdSense. So it goes to show you guys that the limits of YouTube it's so infinite. I mean, the amount of money you can not only make, but the amount of like opportunities and any business. If you're any business, or person wanting to turn into a, I don't want to say an entrepreneur, but like a brand, whether that be yourself or a company or something you're passionate about, YouTube's the way to go. YouTube is the way to go. Let me catch up on some questions real quick. Pretty sure I got asked something here a while back here. So another one thing I'd recommend, guys, when you get started too, is really refining your production style. I know that kind of maybe was not asked, or maybe somebody had asked along the way. But and I mean that by like you kind of want to think about, brainstorm some like nuances you may want to do, find ways to accentuate your personality, things you want to focus on. Even if it's like a top 10 kind of style video, even if it's like you vlogging, that will really come out more to your viewers, because you don't just want to be another person. You want to be unique in the sense of, people come for you. And I feel like good editing, I mean, I know good editing is perspective, but editing can really bring out, certain elements of you and the stuff you want to come out across with. So that just comes with practice. Like assuming you're going to do all your own editing, it just comes with, like you'll kind of go through your video and be like, oh, I want to make that this, or I want to make this funny or that. I mean, it just takes some practice. And so it takes a little time to kind of develop your personality and things like that. But once you have that, I'd say like once you kind of make your first 5 to 10 videos, you'll probably have a pretty like decent foundation to build off of, and kind of like a pretty good grounds to kind of like build your personality off of. You'll kind of have a production flow down. You'll know that, okay, I'm going to shoot this way. It takes about this long to shoot it. I'm going to import my audio here, do this here, make this edit here, put this title tag over here, put my name over here, end this video this way. You'll have that down. And as we said at the beginning of the conversation, the first couple videos, it's really awkward and disjointed because you're trying to figure all that out. It's awkward talking to the camera. You don't know how you should end the video. You don't know how you should start the video. You don't know where you should put your hook in. And it's really kind of wonky. And then you put it out there, you're kind of discouraged about it because you're like, well, I don't know if people are going to watch it. But, you got to remember, you're putting that out there to get that out of the way. Once that's out of the way, then you just build upon that. And you just start refining. So the way I like to think about it is every video I put out, I think, okay, like what do I feel like I did very well? And what do I feel like I'm like, yeah, we should change that. There's been times I put out stuff where I'm like, ooh, the intro, that's got to go. The outro, I got to find, I'm not happy with that outro. Maybe you put something here. I mean, you're constantly refining. And you'll get to a point to where you're X amount of videos in and you have it pretty well refined. Like, what you're going to say for your intro. You'll have a thing that you say all the time. You'll be like, hey, welcome to X channel where we do this. Maybe that's something you say every intro. Or maybe you have a specific thing you say in the outro. You'll have that down. You'll kind of just have the general feel. And then what's going to happen is you start to get comfortable. Then you start to kind of relax. You don't talk as fast. You become more fluent in how you speak, and you kind of get more relaxed, and you kind of start inserting personal humor, and you kind of get more personal with your viewers. People pick up on that, and they respond to that very well. And then you start to really kind of get noticed, because now you're not all uptight and weird on camera. Now, you're just, it's like we're talking in a room together. You're funny. It's your personality. You're not trying to be weird or be fake or whatever. So, I mean, that's really huge. So, and that even comes across in like channels that are like, say they just, you automate them, like the top 10 channels or things like that. You get a production flow down like that. That is key. And it's not something you have to get right off the bat. It's going to take you a few videos to get that down, but it's just a part of the YouTube growth of how that happens. So maybe I missed it. Did you guys have any questions? Maybe I missed something here along the way. Because we talked about some tools like using Jarvis and Pictory. Those can really help speed up your production time, I feel, and can really help you get videos out there. But also, like what Zach and stuff was saying, is by really focusing on like one good channel. Like for me, I'm really guilty of having a ton of different channels. I'm like building them all up at the same time. But then at the same time, because I'm stretching myself out like an octopus, instead of focusing on like 2 channels and really building them strong, I try to stretch it out, and then I don't get that same momentum, because I'm like, oh, well, more is better. Yeah, more isn't always better though, because dividing up your time is not going to be as much. I mean, you think how much it takes to, I don't want to say run a YouTube channel, but to make a successful channel. I mean, because you think like you got to find video topics, you got to shoot the video, you got to edit the video, you got to come up with a good thumbnail, then you got to think of a good title, description, tags. Then there's the post of the video, right? Not just that you uploaded it, but there's the post video, which is like, okay, you look at your analytics of that video. How did the video perform? Why are viewers dropping off at this point? Did my thumbnail do as good? And that's information you want to take into your next video. Well, maybe I need to ditch that intro. Maybe I showed something here in this part of the video that needs to go because viewers are dropping off. Maybe my thumbnail sucked. Maybe my title wasn't captivating. And so it's like this ever-churning wheel of trying to improve upon your content for like, the ultimate utopian, style video that just blows up on your channel. And it takes a while to kind of get to that point. You guys say you hire VAs. What does that say? Virtual assistant. So I have a team that helps me. But they're not VAs. They just do other stuff. But he actually has VAs, which is, again, virtual assistants, so that they'll do tasks for you. So say, for example, you're like, what, I need you to go and use this software and create this many videos for me. You can hire somebody for like $10 an hour to go do that for you. As long as you got all the stuff there to save you time there, they can be very, very helpful. So that's a VA. I definitely suggest that once you start making enough money, whether it be through YouTube or whatever business venture you have, I would definitely try and put it in your budget, because that's going to help you dramatically increase the amount of time you have. Like me, I'm terrible at stretching my time. I have like little blocks of time in the day, but as I just explained with all the stuff that, takes with running a functioning YouTube, when you're like, okay, well, I'm going to do like 8 different projects, but I'm only going to allot like 30 minutes a day to each project because I'm trying to do as much as I can. Well, those projects are going to suffer because you're only giving each time to each one. And it's not going to, so I always like to say, try and focus on like a couple things. Maybe I should follow my own advice. I can never find a VA that works as fast or competent and edit my stuff. Yeah. I think a lot of that is the huge reason why. I find that if you go to Upwork.com, that can generally, I find a lot of my team on Upwork, but you can go through it with English speakers and stuff. That might help because the language barrier can cause problems. That's kind of a hard one, but I generally find that if you go for America or really tried it all, yeah, I'm not as well versed in hiring just an actual VA, but I would plan to do on Upwork. And that's the thing too, is the competence thing, that they don't fully understand what you're. Maybe the only thing I could think of is to either make a video or make a really detailed PDF. I don't know. That's kind of a tough one. Can you make money by creating videos using? Oh yeah, absolutely. There are so many channels out there that have flourishing YouTube channels via AdSense and affiliate with just stock footage. And that's why I was talking about Pictory. Pictory exclusively uses stock footage. So, and if you didn't know, Kunal Prasad, is that Pictory, basically you input your script and it actually outputs an entire video compiled of stock footage for you, which is really, really cool. And it's all from Storyblocks. Storyblocks and Envato Elements, I think, are like some of the top. I think there's ArcGrid.io, but there's some of the top stock footage companies there are. So pretty cool stuff, guys. Pretty cool stuff. So yeah, moral of the story for that, guys, is definitely you want to focus on at least, I'd say 1 or 2 channels. At least 1 or 2. Like really, like think of it like a business, right? It's a business. You're not going to go and start 8 businesses at a time, are you? Probably not. You're going to focus on one, because when you have 1 or 2, you can kind of give them your all. You can really nurture them. And as I was telling Zach, once that I think of it like you're planting, right? Think of it like you're gardening. You're not going to plant. Well, I guess you would plant a bunch of seeds, but in this case, you're probably going to plant 1 or 2, and you're going to wait for them to grow and wait for them to grow. And once they start blossoming and producing fruit, then you can kind of go over and start doing other stuff because you already have something coming in. And what I always preach is, if you have nothing, get a brand or a company or going something so that you have disposable income. You want enough income that can meet your full-time income and full-time needs. For most people, that's like $2,000, $3,000 a month. That covers food, rent, essentials. And then once you start getting additional income in, then you can start buying courses. You can invest in yourself. You can start expanding. You can have teams do stuff for you. That is expanding your social media empire, right? You start having teams of people doing this stuff for you, because otherwise you're trying to like stretch your time out for all these things, and it's just not really working. Do you write a script? Yeah, sometimes I do. Otherwise, I try to have Jarvis help me, or I hire somebody to do it for me. It depends on what I'm doing. It really depends on what you're doing. I find you have more control when it's you, but you got to remember as you're expanding out, you're not going to have the time to, do it. So you can just hire a good scriptwriter. What's the absolute minimum you would recommend for content creation? What do you mean? I don't know I don't know what you mean. What's the absolute minimum? Like money spent or what? Time? What are we talking about here? Diff for monetization. You have to elaborate on that, buddy. If you're talking about time, I mean, it really depends on the video. Some people spend an entire day shooting and editing. Some people only, edit for, a few minutes. It really depends as far as monetarily. Time spent, I say, what's the minimum you would recommend for content? Oh, gotcha. Well, okay, that depends on your niche. So if you're using like Pictory, you can have a video made in like 10 minutes, but that's assuming that you've already got a voiceover and a script. So scripts usually take anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes if you're doing about a 10-minute script, which is like around 1,800 to 2,000 words. So say there's like 20, 30 minutes. Then Pictory is probably about like roughly 10, 20 minutes. Say throwing a voiceover, that's 20 minutes. So say like maybe an hour for like a video, these are just averages, just guidelines. Some people may take more, some people may do it quicker. You could always hire somebody to. Sorry guys, my nose is really itchy right now. You could always hire somebody to do the scripts for you and the voiceover for you. So all you got to do is take those two things and put it into Pictory. You can do that. I think voiceovers are roughly about $15 an hour. Script writing can be anywhere between 10 to 15 an hour, depending on not an hour, but per script and per voiceover, depending on who you hire on Upwork. I'm on Boss Mode. I only use Boss Mode. I love Boss Mode. I use it for, I think, just about everything I do. So what I found, and so I'm on the Facebook thing with Jarvis, but I use some recipes that other people do not use. And I have my own recipe where I can tell Jarvis to input a certain thing, and then what I'll do is I'll put text above and have it like right off that. So I don't know if you do this, Mr. Online Reader. For example, like the other day, I was trying to write a thing about Bitcoin, and I know that Jarvis is not well versed in Bitcoin, but if I feed it the right content, it will write something for me. So this is what I do. Like, for example, let me pull up an example here, Bitcoin. So I go to Google, I type in Bitcoin news, right? And let's see what pops up here. And so, for example, the first thing that pops up is the Fed meeting could be D-Day for Bitcoin. Okay, Fed speeds up, stimulus withdrawal, and Bitcoin jumps, right? So I would get on Jarvis, and I would write Bitcoin jumps from stimulus withdrawal, right? And then I would write probably a short sentence of like, today, we're talking like a sentence, right? And then above that, I would actually copy this entire article is from CoinDesk. I would copy and paste that entire article right above my heading and my sentence. Then I would set it to Medium, and I would actually have it output. So what Jarvis is going to do is it's going to look at that article of content. So it's going to look at the facts that are in that article and that article. It's going to look at my heading underneath it. It's going to look at my short sentence, and it's going to take some of the information out of that article and apply it to what I wrote. So it's not going to copy what it said, but for example, if there's certain facts in that article, it can use those same facts of information in my own article. And then what I do is once I've done a Medium compose, I'm going to go and delete that article. I'll copy and paste a different article, paste in there again, and have it do a Medium thing again. And I just do that over and over with a bunch of different. So you're basically taking articles, you're Frankensteining, and you can create a really well cohesive article, but just by feeding it facts information. You can do this with fictional writing. You can do this with actual like content. I mean, it's a really cool way to write, and nobody at all is really talking about this with Jarvis. So I kind of discovered this. It's really cool. I missed some questions here, guys. Let me see. Stream Deck. I don't use Stream Deck, but it sounds really cool. Boss. One thing I bought actually recently is this. It's not Stream Deck. I don't know if you guys ever bought this. It's the Neo Tor box. I just got mine the other day. I have not even opened it yet. But Tor box is an amazing little like thing you can plug into your computer. It's almost, think of like a little macro thing, but you can use it for all sorts. It's just, I can't even describe it without sounding half retarded. You guys have to just check it out. It's really cool if you make videos. Create a bunch of headlines and then use each headline to expand text. What is your total monthly spend on page? Probably with everything, including my writing team, probably $3,000 to $4,000 a month ish. That includes everybody I hire, Yeah, yeah, it's basically a Stream Deck, basically. It's a form of a Stream Deck. That's right, now that I think about it. Yeah, so between paid tools and writing, I would say probably 3. Yeah, that sounds about right. Lightweight. Yeah. So if you guys don't know what Stream Deck is basically like, it's like this device. I'm trying to how you describe it. It has a bunch of buttons on it you can press that can do different things on your computer. So it's kind of like a real life like macro device, you know. So and that's kind of what this Tor box is I can use it to kind of like do physical shortcuts on my computer to do stuff. How do you pick a niche? Find something you're passionate in, find something you enjoy doing. If you pick a niche that you're not into, you're not going to stick with it. I'm telling you that right now. I've tried, it does not work. I get bored and I don't stay with it, you know. Even if the content is really easy to push out, my heart's not in it, so I don't do it. So yeah, that's really important to remember. Lightweight, yeah. I haven't tried Stream Deck though, but I think it seems like it's a pretty cool thing to use. But I know you can do other stuff with Stream Deck. Stream Deck is pretty cool. Let's see, how much you can use Stream Deck? I think it's probably about the same price, I would imagine. But anyway, guys, going back to the Jarvis thing, that is a very cool way in which you can do content. In fact, I could show you guys right now. Let me go ahead and see. We'll do a live example right here. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's do one with Bitcoin. Why not? Let me find a few articles here. So I'm gonna struggle. I said that because the word here was struggle of this article. I'm gonna go ahead and probably Frankenstein 4 of these articles. So this one I can kind of go back and forth between. So we're gonna do a live example here, guys, of how I would create a Bitcoin article using Jarvis and other content. Now remember, what this doesn't copy content. It takes what's there and puts it into your own way. So let me go ahead and see if I can actually. This is much like, hold on, guys. I'm going to flip the camera around. All right. So here's the first one, right? The crypto market is uneasy about the marketing high inflation. Here's another one. It's spikes despite Fed eyeing through. Okay, so we have more inflation. And then we have this one, right? So we're going to Frankenstein parts of each of one of these. So I'm going to go over here. This is a blank Jarvis document, right? And so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start maybe putting a thing like Bitcoin. What should I say? Bitcoin 2022 inflation spike, right? That will be the premise of my article. So I can do this in a couple different ways now. I guess first we'll take this, right? We'll actually make this, turn it to a heading, right? Okay, I can come over here and tone of voice. I actually don't even need this. Don't need this at all either. I can use these things, but I don't need to. For tone of voice, we'll just put, witty, right? We want to have some humor. So I'm going to set this to medium. We want to keep that, right? And I'm just going to put in a short intro here, right? And it can just say things like, you always want to put in a sentence to kind of like get it started. So you'll say like, sorry guys, I can't keep the camera still. You'll say, so I'm doing this one-handed. You'll say, in 2022, the Bitcoin market will, right? That's all you need. We're talking like a fragmented sentence here. This is just to get Jarvis started, okay? Now, here's what we do next. We'll go over to here. Okay, and I'm just going to go down here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and copy this right here. Oh, we didn't copy that part. Copy part of the article. I'm not going to copy the entire article for this sake, just this fragment. I could stick it up right above here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just compose. Let's see what it does. So as it says here, the Bitcoin market will experience a large inflation. This is because the Bitcoin block reward will drop from 12.5 to 6.2 per block mined. The total number of Bitcoins in circulation will also increase from 17 to 21. This would cause the price of Bitcoin to skyrocket as investors would buy. Now that's pretty interesting based on the information displayed here. Now as you see, that information is not here, but it can use that not only tone of writing, but also that style, what it's talking about to, to display that information. Now I'd obviously probably want to go and fact check if these things are actually right. But this is just an example of how you can play with this and how you can do things. Now I can go back And maybe I'm going to go ahead and copy this. So we'll actually do this the same thing, and I'm going to copy all this. Go back to Jarvis, and this time I'm going to get rid of this again. And I'm going to go ahead and paste this in. And now I'll go back to the bottom here. Remember, guys, I got this on medium. It doesn't stay off medium, so I'm going to go ahead and have it go again. And it's going to compose more. The increased demand could also lead to a surge in price of other cryptocurrencies as investors seek to diversify their portfolios. The decrease in block reward will also likely have an impact on hash rate of Bitcoin network. So as you can see here, again, guys, that little tip is a great way. It's not stealing this information, but it's using this as a base and tone to write from. And if I keep doing this over and over with different articles, Frankensteining, I will have a pretty cohesive article written right here that Jarvis did for me. So as you see, if you do this, you can have a pretty detailed article in like 5 minutes just from this little stem of a sentence that I wrote that this finished. So when I have it generate, it looks right here as my topic, and then Tony Boy, yeah, I should have. It'll look like that as my point, and then it sees the information up here. Now boss mode, the reason why boss mode is awesome is because it'll look all the way up here. I think it only goes up to like 600 words. I think it talks about characters, but it's actually, as far as in words, it's only like 600 words. But yeah, it'll look back here and it'll start pulling. I can keep going and see what happens. And at any time I can change the tone of voice. So there we go. It stopped. Harsh decreasing rate. It just keeps going and going and going. So now this is starting to pull stuff from the article. So we actually can look up here. See, maybe not. This is kind of where you got to like kind of go back and like see. Generally, it won't, as long as you kind of have an intro sentence, it won't generally pull like directly verbatim from the article. It'll just pull information and put it into a different way. But like this isn't even a real quote, at least that I'm aware of, unless it's in this article right here that I'm kind of like vaguely like kind of scrolling through. But it just kind of gives you an idea. Like when it says, he said, who said, the co-founder and chairman of Bitcoin Foundation. See, so again, you probably want to like copy check this just to make sure, but overall, it is a very quick, easy way to kind of just, go through your content and, come up with content really easily. So that's what I would recommend for you guys if you're using boss mode. I think boss mode's like $139 a month, I think, something like that. So, all right, guys, we've had an awesome live. I'll be hopping back on live again here probably in the next couple days or so. But until then, I hope you guys got a lot of information, and I'm going to go work on more stuff. So it was a pleasure. I'll see you guys soon.